And a Mississippi And a Mississippi lawmaker is showing his support to counter protesters at the University of Mississippi. This after one protester who appeared to make monkey gestures at a black woman. The video going viral shows a group having a heated argument with a black woman. One person is seen making monkey noises and gestures towards her. Republican Congressman Mike Collins took to social media praising the protesters rallying against the pro-Palestine demonstrators, saying, quote, Ole Miss taking care of business. There were no arrests made during the campus demonstration.
Welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. And that is the state of the country. But the state of the world gets even worse than what could be a precursor to things to come in the United States as well. Israel has shut down a major media outlet it says is against its war in Gaza. How dangerous is that? And what will the White House response be? After all, President Biden continues to advocate publicly for a free press. We'll talk about that this morning. More than 4 in 10 U.S. voters say the country is likely to get ripped apart in a second civil war within 5 years. A new survey reveals the Rasmussen Report poll shows that 41% is iron or are iron a civil conflict compared to 49% who say it's not likely. Another 10% said they were not sure, while others say that it depends on the outcome of November's election. And the WNBA, for all those WNBA apologists, they made Caitlin Clark's pro debut available on television. And we could expect that, right? But it was up to a fan to make Angel Reese's debut available to the public. We're going to talk about that this morning. President Biden on Friday gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Congressman James Clyburn, Medgar Evers, and Opal Lee, and others. We will break down who got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And Dr. Chavis, our own Dr. Chavis, the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, gave the commencement address at Vorhees University over the weekend and received an honorary doctorate in environmental justice. So we'll uh, talk about that a little bit this morning as well. Good morning to the one and only Memphis Jokes who tuned in this morning. Always a pleasure. The great Memphis Jokes. Again, check him out every Wednesday night on his networks over there, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, various different channels there. Memphis Jokes, great, great artist, as we've talked about many times on this program. Um, Southbound 3000 has checked in with JSU in the building. The I love, he says. And of course, Power 96 was loaded for bear even before we went live. He says the question of the day is how can any black person attend the University of Mississippi? Those college students doing monkey chants, using racial slurs, and body shaming a young black woman in 2024, not 1964, as we saw in that video. Mark, Mark Edmonds. We in the hood. Where you at, Mark? You in the house? You in the hood? Where you at, Mark? Man, one of the Mark. Yeah, listen, I gotta hear Mark Edmonds' voice. It's like Barry White, Ruben Studdard, and all of them put together, but better. Can you believe that? Mark makes people fall in love with him. He makes women fall in love with him. His wife fell in love with him, I'm sure, because of his voice. He's got that voice. I wish I had that voice. Man, that would be awesome. Black gold, he says. Black gold. That's right. Well, welcome back from a weekend of whatever y'all did. I know Power 96 was he was with Tom Joyner and what's the name? Was it Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Ralph? Which one of them was it? Power 96. Uh, he was there. Others, so many other celebrities from the 90s, from his era, was on the Tom Cruise boat. And I saw he's back in Louisiana with his crawfish. It was Bobby, the one and only, the king of R&B. Bobby Brown was on that cruise. One of the great things about that Tom Joyner cruise is that not only do the celebrities, the singers, they perform or whatever, but they interact. They are hanging out on the ship. Um, I wonder if Power 96 was able to offer Bobby Brown some crawfish and a little booze. I mean, I'm sure he brought some along with him on the boat. Gregory Muhammad has joined us as well. Good to see everybody this morning. Everybody's ready for another week. Well, let's get right into it then. Israel has ordered the closure of Al Jazeera in the country and moved the Qatar based news network called a criminal act. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu posted on X that the government headed by me unanimously decided the incitement channel Al Jazeera will be closed in Israel. Um, without even going through all of the reasons why, the rhetoric and things like that. And good morning to my little sis, Dr. Nicole. Um, it is so dangerous. So Al Jazeera has been reporting on the front lines there, and they've been reporting what they've seen. And this is what journalists are supposed to do. But Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't like the fact that they've been reporting about all the atrocities. And so um, I'm telling you, without a free press, which is what is under threat as well come November, because one party wants to snuff out um, the free press and want to control everything that goes out either in newspapers or on broadcast news, certainly on social media, etc. David said, I told you 5 months ago Israel lost this war because of this disproportionate response. And you did. Southbound 3000 says, does going to PWIs get you a top notch coming out of college? Is the answer. Our kids must be aware of because they'll always think of us as apes. They just want the funding for being on campus. And so, I mean, this is intertwined, right? Because all the protest and what they're now doing with Al Jazeera. Um, you know, look, CNN, NBC, the black press, all are in danger in this country of having something like that happen. We know there's no free press in Russia and certain in North Korea, China. There's no free press there, and you're kept in the dark. You're kept in the dark here, even already on some things that go on because of this obsession with the former president, the Republican, who is the Republican frontrunner. And even my little sister says, I had to give the show a break a couple of times because she says, I just can't take all of this Trump stuff. And yet, and the thing about it, we had a publisher say the same thing. And imagine that, a publisher of a newspaper saying they can't take all the Trump stuff when you can't avoid it. But then imagine this, if he wins the election, there won't be a media. There may not very well may not be a media. We saw evidence of that during his first term when he confiscated hard passes. I think the most prolific was I believe it's Jim Acosta. He took his hard pass, and he is constantly referred to the media as the enemy of the state. And so um, that's why it's important we bring you information like this. And what's happening over in Israel with them banning Al Jazeera, they packed up. They had them pack up immediately. They sent in forces to make sure that Al Jazeera packed up. And Mike V says, "Don't forget, it was the IDF that killed several Al Jazeera's journalists in Gaza, who was also an American citizen while reporting, and the U.S. did nothing about it." Um, you're starting to see, and I saw a Bloomberg reporter and a reporter for, I believe it was the New Yorker, or was it Time? Time as well. Um, talking about this over the weekend that all of a sudden they're 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 talking about feeling sorry for Donald Trump, which was interesting. And therein lies the danger of what journalists can do. That's the problem. You don't invest yourself in a subject that you're covering, whether it's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, whomever. You just can't get personally invested like that if you're going to cover them. And they're out there. They're covering it. They're covering the trials, and to say, "Oh, I'm starting to feel bad for them." Um, I mean, I remember covering obviously the Bill Cosby case, and I didn't necessarily feel bad for Cosby as much as I felt bad for how I saw the system working or not working. You have to be you can't lose your objectivity because you play right into a Benjamin Netanyahu um, hand in which he says, they're confiscating all of the broadcast equipment from Al Jazeera. He says the channel's correspondents will be prevented from working. Power 96 six says that he says, who is feeling sorry for Trump? He feels sorry for all the people who have to smell him in the courtroom. But this is a serious issue. It's a serious issue. This idea of um, Israel suppression, the press. More than 140 Palestinian journalists have been martyred, as they say, for the sake of the truth since the beginning of the war on Gaza is what Al Jazeera. That's a quote from Al Jazeera's heads of Al Jazeera. Several of the network's journalists working in Gaza have been injured or killed since October 7th. Al Jazeera also denied Israel's, quote, false allegations regarding our violation of the professional framework governing media work. They called on media and human rights organizations to condemn the Israeli authorities' repeated attacks on the press and journalists. And remember, it was just a month ago that Netanyahu vowed to shut down Al Jazeera and other outlets covering the situation there. You just can't allow this. Austin says, I'm being completely objective when I say nothing can happen to Trump that would make me even remotely feel sorry for. Oh, Austin's got some ice water in his veins. And David Youngblood said Netanyahu's brother was the only Israeli only Israel person, Israel resident killed in a raid in Entebbe, Uganda. He hates the Palestinians. Well, um, Again, it's a very dangerous precedent over there, and it again it further puts the American government, the American president. Let's be real here, with the protest, and now we're seeing even more and more as Greer showed at the beginning with the um, racist guy saying doing racist things toward this black woman. Um, it puts the Biden campaign at peril. I don't no matter what they say. These protests is has taken over from other issues. Because you remember, they were doing fine on the abortion issue, and the Republicans knew it, and they started to, do their thing. They started to, flip flop. Mark Edmonds says, "So sad. The world is a three ring circus. We know who the ring master is. Absolutely, absolutely." Southbound 3000 says, "When people of color, meaning our journalists, don't have boots on the ground, who can give truth from their perspective? It hurts the world of information." Yeah, and we can go down that path a lot about how information has been just totally distorted. They say misinformation. It's just don't call it what it is. It's lies. Let's not use Kellyanne Conway's alternative facts line. Misinformation is lies. Disinformation is lies. And unfortunately, as we talk about how bad this is for Netanyahu to go after the free press, um, and how bad it is for even Donald Trump to go after the free press, American media, not American Media Inc., the parent of the National Enquirer, but uh, media here in America, mainstream media, has really, really provided ammunition for those who say shut them down, because they're promoting false information. They're buying into it. We're seeing more and more too much of not enough information, not enough facts, but going on their own, who they back. I could care less who a person, a journalist backs, whether it's even if it's a boxing match. If you're there to cover it, you don't root for the other fighter or either fighter. You're there to cover it objectively. Gregory Muhammad is saying, using our moniker, let it be known. He says Israel cannot win against God. Nobody can win against God. Uh, you remember that? It was a play some years ago with the title "Your Arms Are Too Short to Box with God." I never saw the play. Didn't wasn't interested in the play. I was just interested in the title. He mentions that folks could review Minister Louis Farrakhan's Savior's Day 2024 message delivered in Detroit this past February. And Southbound 3000 is invoking the late great Joe Madison. He says the Black Eagle always said that information is power. It's not just a cute slogan. And it's too many journalists, and this is why, again, and yeah, we can pat ourselves on the back if you know, but this is once again why the Black Press of America has historically been important, been vital, um, because for the for the most part, the Black Press of America has never looked at it as just a cute slogan. We said it before, that corny Spider-Man line became corny after about 10,000 times people used it, but great power, great responsibility. Um, and the Black press, more so than any other media, has taken that very seriously. And so, the media has to get it together. I noticed that the ABC News president, she was ousted finally. She knew it was coming. It's unfortunate, but she knew it was coming. It's too much disinformation, misinformation. As I said, that it boils down to lies. Interesting topic came up over the weekend. I've actually, let me preface this by saying I have put in calls to a number of political science, history, and Black studies and Civil War professors. And hopefully, um, and I did this over the weekend, so it wasn't. I got one response so far. Hopefully, we'll get a few more. We're going to visit this topic because Grizz talked about this. She talked about this a while ago. This Civil War. More than 4 in 10 folks in the U.S. say that the country is likely to get ripped apart in a second civil war. Um, it was a Rasmussen report. They polled thousands of folks, and uh, it showed that 41%, like I said, IA civil conflict. 49% said it was not likely. They didn't think it was likely, but 41% is a extremely high number. And 10% said they were not sure. So what it amounts to, 106 million US adults say that civil war is on the horizon. That is a movie horizon. Mark Evans says he got to go to work. There's a movie um, of the same name, Horizon. So it was interesting that it comes out now, but um, this this comes like we see all this violence on U.S. college campuses, but we see a divisive race, presidential race, in which you have now even Tim Scott saying that if he's not sure if he could accept the results of the election, and we're still months away from the election. And so, in other words, what he's saying, if he's saying the same thing that his leader is saying, that if they don't win, they can't accept the votes, and they have invoked violence. The former president has said that he does see that the country erupting in violence if he does not win in November. And so you have approximately 106 million Americans now worried about a rerun of the 1861-1865 Civil War, which saw 11 southern states break away over the institution of slavery, ultimately ending in their defeat after 4 bloody years of war. Um, and you're seeing, we brought this story last week in Louisiana, where you had in Baton Rouge this split where white folks said that they wanted to get away from black folks, and now in the Supreme Court allowed them to essentially create their own city. There are cities in Texas and Florida that talks about succession. Oklahoma. There's a lot of that going on. And again, so you may say, well, we don't hear a lot about it. As we said earlier, you're not hearing about a lot of things because the mainstream media in particular is so focused on what's happening in a New York courtroom with Donald Trump and this wild election season, this violent election season, and of course the protests. And these discussions, I mentioned that new movie, this new Civil War movie, which debuted at the box office at number one. So that survey also showed that it was Republicans, those who claim to be Republicans, they are more certain that there will be a civil war. 54% of them, to be exact. So they are telling you that this is what they're prepared to do. Mike V says, I would tell you that we are already in a civil war via the Supreme Court and legal decisions being made against the collective interests of black folks right now. And he says, look at Louisiana right now. So they're really being direct about bracing for such an occurrence. We know again that these students at dozens of schools, we reported that the arrests have gone over the 2,000 mark, and the protests are getting more and more um, violent with law enforcement using weapons and pepper spray and other things on what was intended to be peaceful protest. So we're seeing a lot of these signs, and as I said, look, um, this is something that Greer has been talking about for a while, and and she said what Mike V said, we already at war. This is what so you guys, Mike and Greer, you on the same page with her. So a lot they're putting a lot of emphasis on the November election. David Youngblood says there will not be a civil war because black soldiers guard the munitions. Oh, oh gosh. Oh wow. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. You know what was interesting? So all the media attention that Caitlin Clark has been getting, she didn't win the championship. Angel Reese won a championship last year. And as I mentioned too, the MAGA man, Ice Cube, offered Caitlin Clark millions of dollars to be a part of his league. Um, and people argue with me when I said, well, he didn't say anything about or to Angel Reese. She signed a $28 million endorsement deal, and she got selected first in the WNBA draft. Um, and Angel Reese was selected along with Camila Cardoso early in the first round with in the top 10, in fact, to Chicago. And you would think that the WNBA, which it's been gaining in popularity. No, but actually, let's be real here. The women's college basketball has become exceedingly more popular than the WNBA. And the WNBA, instead of trying to really take advantage and ride that wave, and we talked about the salaries and all that stuff, really grabbing, as they say, the bull by the horns and making a big deal. They made a big deal out of um, Caitlin Clark's debut. It's preseason the other day, televising it on the WNBA's app and on television. No television whatsoever, not even on the app for um, Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso. None. And so you imagine that people wanted to watch the Chicago Sky. Um, so there was a fan who decided, you know what? I'm going to show this. I'm going to go live with it from my IG account. That garnered 2 million views as of Sunday. Far more than the number who watch Caitlin Clark on television. And um, this user who has the X handle actually, uh, hey, it's Ali, ALLI, who attended the game in Minnesota minutes before tip off. She posted a query on whether fans would be interested in her live streaming the game from her phone. The answer turned out to be an emphatic yes. Hey, it's Ali. Streamed the game over 2 hours. She peaked at about 173,000 viewers at one point in the game. Then it hit 400,000. Um, it was kind of grainy, but it shows you the interest because more than 2 million eventually watched Angel Reese's debut with Camila Cardoso. The Lynx won the game 92-81. Angel had 13 points and 9 rebounds. Camila Cardoso has 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 block shots, and she played 13 minutes. And the stream got not just interest from WNBA fans, but from some of the league's figureheads. Seattle Storm legend Sue Bird gave a shout out to the Twitter user, hey, it's Ali, while the Lynx president and head coach Cheryl Reeve had plenty to say about the situation or what the situation means for the business of the WNBA. She wrote, hey, Ali, we should all send $3. Anybody that watched it should send $3 to the person. I don't even know who it is. I just heard walking here that the Lynx PR department shared with me. The time you said 120, so it was up to 160, 200,000, etc. I think that what I what I would say, she says, is that the growth is happening so fast. It's so accelerated. And I've been saying this in our own organization that business as usual isn't going to work anymore. You're going to get left behind. And this is an example. And so she called out the WNBA and she also called on those who watched that stream, the 2 million or so, to give this user $2. Send this user $2 per person. That would be a nice windfall there. But I think she's 100% right. She's 100% right. She says, it's not just about Caitlin. And she says it's not Caitlin Clark's fault. She said it's more the recognition that there's general excitement about the WNBA in ways that we haven't seen before. And so we have to capitalize. So the WNBA is showing you immediately they're hitching their wagon solely to Caitlin Clark. Big mistake. She should be a part of that. And think about it, as we said, Angel Reese has won a championship. Caitlin Clark has not. Camila Cardoso has won 2 championships. And and was on a team that went undefeated. So, actually, as of Sunday morning, it was 2.4 million views on that post. And that's Power 96 says uh, Caitlin is being paid for coming in second place in back-to-back national championship games. White and mediocre is American as apple pie. It's just ridiculous. Mike V says the NBA doesn't allow for the reproducing of their content without their consent. So how would that work? Well, they also don't prohibit the use of cell phones for video. Um, so I guess it's a dicey situation, and I really doubt, based on certainly based on the success of this um, spontaneous live stream and the feedback it's gotten even from players and coaches and team presidents, that the WNBA would make a spectacle of itself by trying to go after this individual. The WNBA should think about hiring this individual, actually. But I get what you're saying, Mike. But good for this young lady, whomever she is, who decided to do this. Look, over 2.5 million fans are saying good for her. But it's absolutely, absolutely very obvious what's going on there, and it only serves to hurt them. When you remember when two huge stars came to the NBA in 1979, one was black and one was white. The NBA, despite its merger with the ABA at the time, despite such amazing superstars like Dr. J, David Thompson, George Gervin, and others, the NBA was on the verge of just totally being in, if not folding, but just total obscurity. And a guy named Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came out, and the NBA, understanding the moment, understanding that this was a moment that we must seize upon, did everything in its power to promote both, and they lived up to the hype. Magic won that title in his first season, the NBA championship. And they turned the league's fortunes around almost instantly. M- the finances started booming, and this is where the WNBA, all these complaints about the salaries of the WNBA being low, um, this is their 1979 moment. But right now, it seems like, and it's just the preseason, but regardless, it seems like they want to focus on Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Clark alone. I don't think that that is going to carry them to where they want to go. And it's nothing against Caitlin Clark. It's just not. It's just not enough. You have to. You have to hone in on that rivalry between her and Angel, and you can't leave out Camila Cardozo. Two NCAA titles, an undefeated season, a Dawn Staley product. You can't leave her out. But for all those who um, complain about the salaries of the WNBA, well, look what they're doing right now. It's called stunning your own growth. Great job by that fan. Great job. And Power 96 has said that the person identified as one of the old Mississippi students in that viral video we saw earlier was JP Staples. He was the one, according to Power 96, doing the monkey chants. He has deleted all social media accounts, but TikTok is undefeated. His life story is on there. So we will look into that. We all should look into that. He says Willis Reed, the first NBA player to win NBA All-Star MVP, regular season MVP, NBA Finals MVP. Yep. Thank you very much. The captain, Willis Reed. I don't care how old you are. particularly if you're a Knick fan, and if you're a Los Angeles Laker fan as well. Um, you will always remember Willis Reed hobbling onto the court to a rousing ovation at Madison Square Garden in Game 7 to defeat the Lakers and give the Knicks the NBA title on one leg. On one leg, the captain did his thing. Well, on Friday afternoon, President Joe Biden awarded 19 individuals the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. Civil rights icon Medgar Wiley Evers and South Carolina Rep. James Clyburn were among those whose legacy of bravery and activism inspired generations. They received the Medal of Freedom. We see Nancy Pelosi also received it. Opal Lee, the um, founder of Juneteenth, also received um, the medal. David Youngblood said Jim Clyburn saved America. But it was a quite the ceremony, as you seen. Greer put up the video and images of that. But we know Clyburn. He became the first African American advisor to a South Carolina governor. When he transitioned to the House, the U.S. Congress, he began a new chapter of leadership. He became chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus and vice chair of the House Democratic Caucus. He earned numerous honors and accolades, including the prestigious Spingarn Medal from the NAACP. And we know that, and we talk about this all the time, which is it's a bone of contention that we have with the Biden campaign. Um, but in 2020, Bernie Sanders and even Michael Bloomberg's campaign were ahead of Biden. And then the black press descended upon South Carolina, Charleston. We had a big meeting with Joe Biden. Then we had an interview with Joe Biden, streamed it live. Great talk. It was led by Dr. Chavis. Many of our publishers were there. I was there. And a couple of hours later, Jim Clyburn endorsed Biden and his candidacy, his campaign, I should say, never looked back. They rode that wave of the black press and Jim Clyburn all the way to the White House. All the way to the White House. And it was Jim Clyburn who, before Biden took the stage to deliver a speech in South Carolina on that day, implored Biden to promise that he would um, nominate the first black woman on the Supreme Court. There was pushback at first. Biden's camp didn't necessarily want him to make that promise. And Clyburn said, you want our continued support? Make that promise. Biden was smart enough to take heed and make that promise. And a statement from Dr. Chavis over the weekend about Clyburn's medal. He says the Biden Harris administration continues to lead America forward toward freedom, justice, and equality for all. The NNPA takes special note and salutes Congressman Clyburn and Medgar Evers for their outstanding and transformative courage and leadership in the ongoing freedom movement for civil and human rights. The Black Press of America extends heartfelt congratulations to Clyburn, Evers, and all who are being honored. Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York City, the aforementioned Michael Bloomberg, who revolutionized the financial information industry, and significantly impacted various sectors, including education, the environment, and public health, and the arts. Also received a medal from the president. Senator Elizabeth Doyle was among those. Phil Donahue, y'all remember Phil Donahue? Oh, Phil Donahue was the daytime talk king until Oprah came along and uh, totally changed the landscape of daytime talk. Al Gore, the former vice president, also received a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Clarence B. Jones, a civil rights activist and confidant of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., received one as well. Um, John Kerry, who is a veteran and former Secretary of State. Senator Frank Lautenberg received one. And as we mentioned, Opal Lee um, and Nancy Pelosi also received among the 19 actually who received it um, Presidential Medal of Freedom. So congratulations to all of those. It's a very high and rare honor. Kanye 6 says he celebrates Juneteenth all month long. He decorate his house and yard. And Mike V is wondering if Biden will travel to Buffalo for the anniversary of the Buffalo terrorist attack to address the nation on how white supremacy is the largest terrorist threat to the country. It's a good question because that anniversary is only days away now. And David wants to make sure that Rep. Al Edwards received the credit for leading the charge for Juneteenth. He says Rep. Edwards, the state rep, rarely gets the credit. And speaking of Dr. Chavis, um, in a profound address at Vorhees University's 127th commencement, NMPA president and CEO and civil rights leader Dr. Chavis delivered a powerful message of hope, resilience, and social responsibility to the graduating class of 2024. Dr. Chavis did mention to the students that one historical note. I'm quoting him now. He says, "This year marks the 197th year of the Black press since the first publication of Freedom's Journal in March of 1827. All across the nation, we are reporting and highlighting the achievements and graduations of students who have triumphed at HBCUs. It was a class of 75 graduates, a host of faculty, guests. Dr. Chavis's daughter, uh, Anna, was on hand as well to see her dad give the address. And Dr. Chavis emphasized a threshold to new beginnings. He says, for Vorhees University has come a mighty long way since the university was first founded back in 1897 by the Honorable Elizabeth Evelyn Wright. Dr. Chavis went on to tell the students that we are all blessed to be gathered together here at this providential moment. He says, today is a new beginning for you and your families. Today is a new beginning for you to seize the opportunities that are before you. He says, it is also important to be ever aware of the world you are entering. He drew attention to ongoing challenges facing Black Americans, including attacks on voting rights and attempts to distort historical narratives. He says in some states, they are even banning books and attempting to engage in disinformation about our history, our culture, and our future in America and throughout the world. He said, despite the challenges, he remains confident in the resilience of the graduating class, whom he held as the boldest, the most intelligent, the most gifted, and the most promising generation. He encouraged them to maintain faith in themselves, their communities, and their ability to effect positive change. He also got he received an honorary doctorate in environmental justice after his graduation address at Voorhees. So he stood proud in receiving that award. You can read more about it and see the pictures of Dr. Chavis receiving that award at blackpressusa.com. He also gave the students a little poem where he says that as you embark on this new chapter of your lives, remember these words: you will fly high. The future is bright. Class of 2024 shines in the light. Long live the spirit and the legacy of the class of 2024. And he told them to hold their heads up without fear or distress and continue to make their families proud. Oh, so, what a week. What a beginning to the week. We appreciate you all. Again, check out our YouTube page. Don't just check it out, hit the subscribe button, share it, leave some thoughts. And if you get a chance, head down to Louisiana and get some of that crawfish from Power 96. As long as he's giving you a beer with it, right? You got to have some beer with the crawfish. But we appreciate you all and thank you so much for watching. Let it be known, and we will be back tomorrow with some more headlines. Thanks for watching.